Hello, everyone. This is Wayne Stanley. Welcome to our latest BowBits webinar. We're really excited to have all of you on the program today. We're going to wait just one more minute and let a couple more people join here. Um, I got an email from a few that we're able to get in just fine. I see several of you that are on here already, several friends from around the title industry and some of the other clients that we have and other friends in general in the marketing space. So we're happy that you guys are here. As usual, we're going to record this and we're going to make sure that you can um, use this in the future. I'm going to have a presentation for you today, and then I'm also going to go live and show you how to create a Snapchat filter as well, because I think that's important as part of this. But as usual, all lines are muted. If you have anything that you want to ask, please use the chat box in this forum so that you can interact with me and ask any question. Hi, Joe. I saw your chat come through. I am happy that you are here today. That's a great example of a good chat. But we designed these to be 30-minute webinars because we want them to be full of information for you, and hopefully you'll find something useful that you can utilize in your own operation or teach to one of your clients or something like that. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. As I said, I really want to talk about Snapchat strategy today. I got a lot of emails when we started this and said, you don't even know what Snapchat is, so can you start there? And the answer is yes. I use this dog because he reminds me of the dog filter that already exists on Snapchat that so many use, and I'm going to show that to you here in a little bit. But I really think that whether or not you currently use Snapchat for business, for marketing purposes, whether you're going to use Snapchat in the future, or whether you're just trying to learn more about it so that when others, when your customers, when your clients, your kids, when they talk about the program, you're able to understand it a little bit more and kind of know where it's headed. And with that, I wanted to start out with a few stats. I always like to start out with stats because I think some people think they're boring and that they're not always super effective. However, I think if you're trying to consider whether or not Snapchat is something that you should use in your organization or any new social media platform, it's not just Snapchat. I think that stats can be compelling to try and decide whether or not something is going to be useful or widely utilized in your market. For Snapchat right now, they are averaging about 187 million daily active users. And that's a huge number. Most of those are in the United States and Europe, but that's a huge number. A large number of those are under the age of 35. Um, the number is even stronger in the, I believe right now it's the 23 to 26-year-old range. And certainly in the younger range, lots of those folks, 18 to 22, 23, are utilizing Snapchat, but they're utilizing all the new stuff that comes out too. I mean, right now, Musical.ly is a huge platform for the even younger crowd. But in addition to those daily users, they average almost double that in the 300 million plus monthly active users. So that's folks that aren't maybe checking the app every single day. They're not necessarily going through and sorry, I'm not sure what happened to the presentation just there, but um, they they'll go on to get updates from their friends or to see a story from a celebrity they follow or from a business they follow, and that's really important. I think another compelling stat here is 18% of social media users use Snapchat. So almost 20% of all people that are using social in general have Snapchat, know what it is, are able to talk about it, know that their friends use it. Maybe it's not for them. That's an important piece too. As far as, so, all these people are using Snapchat, but how many, what kind of content is being created? And this one surprised me. I didn't realize it was quite this high, but there are over 1 million Snapchats sent every single day. And when I think about, all of my siblings, I'm the oldest of six, and we all have a Snapchat group together, and we chat throughout the day and send funny things that are happening. And for example, recently our neighbor has decided to employ local convicts from the county jail. And randomly one afternoon, there were a lot of men in striped jumpsuits in our backyard. And that was the perfect thing for me to share in our family Snapchat. That's probably not what you'd share on your business Snapchat, but it was a perfect moment to kind of share something quickly that can easily go away. I don't necessarily need to remember forever that they had employed folks from the jail to do yard work. However, it was a funny thing to share and something that created a lot of conversation, as you can imagine. So, in addition to those 1 million snaps that I am obviously contributing to every day, there are over 10 billion daily video views on Snapchat. And so lots of the snaps that come through from folks are video based. They are not necessarily static photos, they are videos. And they're being viewed 10 billion times. Snapchat originally started out, just to give you a little bit of history, as a platform that had disappearing images and messages. So you would send something and it would last for up to 10 seconds and then it would go away forever. But with the rise of Instagram stories, which is going to be a future Bobits webinar to talk about Instagram stories, but with the rise of that platform, Snapchat had to compete. And so Snapchat allowed users to uh, keep the photos from Snapchat, to download the videos from Snapchat, and keep them forever. And that's really what they're kind of starting to evolve into, is not necessarily an instant photo and video sharing platform, but really a platform to create content, which is really interesting. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit here. But those 10 billion daily video views would never have been possible previously, because if you didn't, look at that snap within that same day, and if you looked at it once, then it was gone forever. So you didn't have the opportunity for repeat video views and that sort of thing that you might have gotten. Um, you might have now, you just didn't have that at the beginning of the session. So those are really important things to consider as we talk about all this. And now I wanted to go into some of the terms, because I've already started using some of the Snapchat jargon here, but there are some terms that I think you need to know, and whether or not you're, like I said at the beginning, whether you're using Snapchat or you are trying to be able to talk to maybe your realtor clients, or maybe your high school age clients, or your fresh out of college folks, whoever it is that are your customers. It's good to know at a minimum what they're talking about, even if you don't include this in your marketing mix for your business. The first is a filter. That's probably one of the most popular things that Snapchat first came out with, and that was, after you take a photo or a video, you can add a filter, which is just an addition, sort of a layover effect, or a decoration, is what some sites call it, for Snapchat. And as you can see here, I stole these from Gary Vee when he was explaining to someone what Snapchat was. This is, if you're looking at that bottom right one for the Phoenix, Arizona piece, that was a Snapchat filter that they had added for an event that he did called Venture Madness. Um, and they added that filter so that whenever somebody took a photo and they were in that area, they were going to be able to swipe left and find that filter and then use it to show their friends that they're at this event. If you are sort of familiar with Snapchat at all, you probably see lots of filters in your local area. There are usually some for every city at this point that has a filter. There are usually some funny ones that are based on the day of the week, like Thirsty Thursday or TGIF at Friday. There are lots of holiday ones for every different holiday that happens. National Donut Day just happened recently. I know there was a filter for that. And all that you do when you need to use that is take the picture or take the video on Snapchat and then swipe left to access all of those filters. First, you're going to get through the filters that are sort of like Instagram, that allow you to adjust the lighting or sort of the contrast of the image or video that you took. And then you're going to get into whatever filters exist. From there, I've said this several times, but what is the sort of the currency on Snapchat? What am I sharing? This is sort of like when Twitter first came out for a lot of folks, and they would call them, are they Twitters? Are they tweets? Are they, what's the real thing here that we're sharing? And for most people, they just, a single message, photo, or video sent on Snapchat is called a snap. Someone sent you a snap. They didn't send you a Snapchat necessarily. They sent you a snap. Another one that you'll hear pretty often is a snap code. Um, and a snap code is the code that exists on your Snapchat profile that allows someone to add you without needing a username. So if you're familiar with um, QR codes, it's basically a QR code, but for Snapchat. So if you open Snapchat and go to take a photo and or go to add someone and you hover over someone else's snap code, which is what this yellow um, ghost diagram here, it's a play on the Snapchat logo, that will automatically add them. That way you don't need to have their username, you don't need to add them to your address book, or find their phone number or anything like that. You can just say, hey, let me see your snap code, and you can very quickly add them. I've been to a lot of conferences where we've talked about Snapchat, and all this, very quickly everyone in the room will kind of bust out their snap code and be able to start talking about um, or start connecting with people that are in the room that are on Snapchat. Even if you don't use it very often, it's still good. If someone wants to connect with you, it's good because then you can see what they're sharing. So as you start to put together your own ideas of what you should share and what might work in your market, you can kind of see what others that you've gone to events and stuff like that would share and be interested. Then there are also lenses, and a lot of people don't really know the difference between a filter and a lens, but there is a technical difference. Most people probably call the lenses filters. They just loop it all into one. But technically, the lenses are the funny piece because um, that everyone utilizes where you see like the dog filter, like the image below here, where the mom has the dog face and it also puts the dog face on the baby. There are really funny Snapchat sort of fail images on Google Images where you can see how Snapchat maybe recognized a book cover or a tree trunk or maybe even their own dog and tried to, swap faces with them or add one of these lenses or add the crazy eyes or the rainbow mouth or something like that. All the lenses is an animation that follows your face. So it kind of moves with you. It'll kind of distort your face. It will distort the face of whoever is with you, and that's it. They're really funny. A lot of people add them to mostly videos, not usually still photos, but you can do both. And I think that that's really important as you kind of think about what you want to do. How do you get started? What's going to be funny? What's going to work? The lens is what's really, really important and what Snapchat updates most often. So how do you use it? That's the one that a lot of people can't figure out when they're first starting on Snapchat. So if you downloaded Snapchat right before this webinar and you're like, I don't really know how to get started, all you do is go ahead and before you take the picture or the video in Snapchat, you're going to tap on the screen, which activates the lenses, and then you can kind of swipe left to see all the available lenses that are on there. So when you've got that camera mode open, whether it's looking at you like a selfie or it's looking outward, maybe to someone sitting across the room from you or to a speaker that you're at, some education event, if you tap the screen, it will open the lenses and it will automatically try to find a face. And so as it looks for the face, it will then put the lens on top of them. So it'll let you see what do they look like with that dog face, or what do they look like with the crazy eyes, or maybe it'll sort of squish their head and make it look like it's 3 feet tall, or maybe it'll make somebody look like they're 2 inches tall. That's kind of how the lenses work. And like I said, a lot of people when they talk about it, they'll talk about the dog filter or the funny face filter, but technically the proper, we're really going to talk about jargon and terms here. It's a lens, and I'll show you the website here in a moment so we can go through some. If you've heard of other terms that you have questions about, go ahead and send them through the chat box. I know Joe just joked that having your own filter is the ultimate social swag, and that's definitely true. And I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to make a filter. I'm going to make one on this webinar. It's going to take less than 5 minutes, hopefully, barring any issues with their website. But it's very easy, and whether you are doing real estate closings, educational events, whatever it is, it's very easy these days to create a filter and throw it up and have it be, for a one-day event for a few hours, it could be less than $10. So it can really add, even if you're not using Snapchat yourself, you don't have an account, create a filter so that folks that do have Snapchat are able to interact with you. And that's kind of the next piece of this that I talk about. But the last term that's in here is a story. So lots of people talk about stories on Snapchat. That's what led Snapchat stories are what led Instagram to develop their stories on the Instagram feed. It's probably Snapchat's biggest revenue eater. You know, lots of people only use Instagram stories now, and they don't use Snapchat as much. But a story on Snapchat is the snap that you share with all of your friends over a series. So maybe it's a series of photos or videos throughout your day. Maybe it's just a random series of things that are happening in your day, but it sort of collects them and shows them all at once. And the way that you use this is when you click send. So after you take a picture or a video, click the send button, and you're going to have the option to send it to your friends individually that you have on Snapchat, your followers, your audience, whatever you want to call them. And then at the top, you also have the option to add it to your story, which means that whether or not you send it to your friends directly or not, it's going to show up there and they can access it. This down here is a story, just a quick example from Halloween of what a story would look like, what a series looks like. Some of them are completely disjointed. These days, stories can be totally random happenings throughout a day, throughout a few hours of a business. It's totally up to you. But this one was one that talked about how their staff carved pumpkins. Yesterday they carved pumpkins. Vote on your favorite. Then they had a little funny one with a monster grin. And then to stay tuned, so to bring you back tomorrow to actually look at some of the pumpkins and maybe vote on them or something like that. And if you have any kind of events and stuff with your staff or with your customers, that's the perfect way to utilize stories and kind of increase engagement that way. One thing that I will tell you is don't be that person, one of the sort of faux pas, and I even still do it sometimes because sometimes I really want my friends to see something that I posted in my story. So I will post it in my story and I will also send it to them directly. That's kind of a faux pas in Snapchat. You're not really supposed to do that. If you send it to them directly, then they shouldn't have to see it in your story. Otherwise, you're sending them information twice. So it's kind of like getting two newspapers in one day. If you want to take it a little more old school. Or having, the nightly newscast cover two stories at the beginning and at the end. That's kind of how people view it. But for me, it's like, I'll give you another example. This isn't necessarily a business marketing example, but for any of you that follow me on Instagram or Snapchat, earlier this week I was at Starbucks and a very strange couple was on the patio at Starbucks and they had two guinea pigs on leashes with them, which was the perfect thing for me to add to my story to let them know that at first I thought there was just one and then there were two. And then all of a sudden these people were gone, but there were kisses of the guinea pigs. There was a lot that I could share in that Snapchat. And again, this is not necessarily the marketing side of what you would do for your business, but that one was important enough to me. I thought it was funny enough. I shared it with my friends individually and I put it on my story because I couldn't get enough of it. But I've also done that when I'm at events and I'm sharing things with my clients. So if I'm at I'm trying to think, a couple of weeks ago I was at a Gary Vee conference in New York on voice search and how people are using Alexa and Siri and Google Home to lead their lives and what that means for marketing and for online content marketing. And for some of our clients that I have on Snapchat, to make sure that they were seeing some of what was being talked about at that conference. I added it to my story, but then I also was sending it to them directly because I think that's a good thing. But otherwise, it's totally your choice as to how you decide to do that. But just kind of laying out the rules of the road for you here. So, tip number one. I've got 4 tips lined up after this. We've got about 9 minutes left. Tip number one is create your own filter. This is a great way to get started. It's a way to think about what you're doing in your area. What are others doing? It's a way to sort of be creative and maybe do something that your competitors aren't doing. But I think that Joe brought up a really good point, and that is that it can be social currency, and it can be really great swag, and it can be that extra thing for your event that makes somebody think, oh, they really do have all their bases covered. They don't just have water at this event. They've also got a Snapchat filter, which is great. It's that kind of stuff, that kind of sentiment that you want people to have. And I've seen lots of folks do this where they'll have a filter for their own office, or they will have a filter for their different closing locations. If they know they've got a lot of remote closings for our title folks that are on here, if they've got a lot of remote closings at a particular remote site, they'll draw a quick filter, a quick geofence over that to put the filter up. And I'm going to talk about that here as I go. I'm going to share my screen, see if I can make this happen without causing any issues. If you can't see my screen all of a sudden, please chat me so that I can let you. 1 second. All right, you should be able to see my screen now. And this is, if you want to create your own filter, you're going to go to create.snapchat.com. Again, that's create.snapchat.com. And like I said, this is a really great way for you to, I was just checking there if you guys can see it. It looks like you can. This is a really great way to create your own filter. You can also create your own lens. That's probably a 201 class. I'm not going to go over that one today for you. I think the filter is just the first part. It's a little easier for folks. So once you're in there, it's going to ask you to log in. So I'm going to click Create Filter, and then it's going to make me, oh, I'm going to go ahead and log in so that I show you everything. This is what I said about live screen sharing. Sometimes it doesn't work just right, but this is perfect. So if you have another, there are lots of third-party sites that you can develop filters on. A lot of them charge you to develop the filter. One of them that we like to use, I think it's called Hot Pepper, HOTPEPPER. I'll send that around when we send out the wording of this, but if it's not called Hot Pepper, it's something Pepper. But you can upload your own. A lot of those sites charge between $5 and $10. Snapchat doesn't charge to design the actual filter itself. So down here is where you can find a number of filters that you want to use. And I'm going to do this kind of quickly for us, but let's just say, um, business. Maybe this makes sense. We've got these flags here. And so we like that one. Maybe that matches our company logo. Whatever that may be, that's the one we chose. That's the one we like. You'll notice that there are gray areas up at the top here. This is for if you have an iPhone 10 or one of the newer Samsung phones, your phone is a little longer, and it will show this upper area. If your phone is older than that, it will not show this darker gray. So make sure you don't add anything down there. To update this, it really is pretty simple. I just double clicked on that happy shopping there, and maybe instead of happy shopping, I'm going to say happy closing day. And then if we had a tagline or something, I could add that. I could add more text, enter text here. Maybe we have a hashtag where I say hashtag go digital. Put that on there somewhere. Maybe I put it right underneath and speed of that color. Done. We'll just leave it under there for now so you can see what it looks like. You can change the color. You can upload your own logo as well. And that's where this comes in. So if you go under Elements and then Upload, let's just say, so our part of our logo in here, and there it is. And maybe I want that to be up near the flags or something. This is not an indication of what our designs look like at Go Digital. This is just me trying to throw it in there quickly to show you what you can do. Snapchat also has emojis. You may have seen these before. This is where you can create sort of an avatar of yourself, and you choose the hair color, the eyes, the outfit, the shoes, the skin color, facial hair, eyebrows, eyelashes, all of that kind of stuff. And then Snapchat, the emoji app, really creates all these different things for you. So maybe as part of, maybe if there's somebody really well known in your office, or you're creating filters for each of your individual closers or something, and you're saying happy closing day and you want to include something really funny for them in there, you can include their emoji too. And a lot of people that use Snapchat use emojis pretty often. So you can include that as well. And then you click next once you're happy. Then you're going to say, well, we're going to do a lot of closings on June 15th. And we're going to do most of those closings between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. I know that's wishful thinking for a lot of you, but that's what we're thinking, right? We're going to do it just one day, that's all. And then we're going to choose our geofence. So Snapchat calls it a location. What is one of our, let's see here, everyone that's on the webinar. How many clients? Tim Evans. I see Tim Evans. Evans title in, I think this is the wrong address now, but we're going to go ahead and choose that one. And it will automatically create a geofence over your location. So if that's the location, maybe there's also a little bit of a parking lot over here, and maybe a parking lot there, and maybe this building is actually part of it too. This is all called a geofence. This is the fence where unless you were in this geofence, your filter will not show up. So if they were across the street picking their kids up for gymnastics after they closed with Evan's title, they're not going to get to put the filter on their photo if they're over here. They have to do it while they're in your office or the event location, wherever you may be. So as you can see, this has been $5 the entire time. The budget updates over here in the top right, and I have expanded this. It was over just this first square here, and I expanded it all the way around, and it's still $5. So you've got the whole day. We've covered about 50,000 square feet for $5. So if you're creating a filter for an event or anything like that, that's really all you have to do. After you get to this point and you're happy with timing and your geofence and your budget, then you're going to click checkout down here at the bottom right. And once you do that, it's going to ask for credit card information, and then it's going to tell you that Snapchat is going to approve your filter. Your filter is subject to all of the standard things that ads go through, anti-discrimination, all that kind of stuff. It's going to make sure you're not doing anything lewd or inappropriate. And then typically that comes back. I think they promise that it's within a few hours. Most of mine have been within 30 minutes. And you literally can design this on the fly. You can design it for anything that you're going to, whatever it may be. I've seen some great networkers. If they know that they're going to go to an all-day event, they'll have their salesperson create their own filter that goes over the event location, and the filter might say something like, hey, this is me, and they'll take a selfie while they're there with the filter on it. Evan's title would love to connect with you at this next event. Whatever that may be. That's been a really great way to kind of connect with people and add it to their story and show that they're out and involved in the community and that kind of stuff. That's really as easy as it is to create a filter. Some people are amazed at how easy it is, but that's really all you have. You can stop sharing here and go back to presentation to share a couple of quick tips. I know we're just about out of time, but this won't take too long. What if we just did all that? We created a filter, we talked about Snapchat, what you're trying to do, and you're thinking, but we downloaded Snapchat, but we don't even have an audience. So what are we doing right now? That's fine. Use the tool that's available to you. Like I said at the beginning, you've got a lot of potential to use Snapchat as a content creation tool. So get creative. Use this to start your video efforts. Use it to teach your customers how to create their own filter. Use it to take photo and video that maybe you upload to your Facebook page or to your website. You don't have to share it on Snapchat and then only the 2 people that you interact with on Snapchat see it. You can download the photo or video that you take. You can save it to your photo roll on your phone or whatever it might be, and you can use it in other places. So use that creativity that Snapchat has brought to their platform through the filters and the lenses and the kind of fun that you can have, and bring it to the other platforms that you utilize. If you've got a really dry subject, I talked to one of the title insurance underwriters recently and said, maybe some of your claims updates you should do with a Snapchat filter on, because it is very serious, but it can also be so dry. And a good way to break it up and maybe have people pay attention to you is to have one of the lenses on your face that's like a monocle, so it looks like you are very professorial today. Use it in that way, but just because you don't have an audience, don't be afraid to use the tool. Also, have somebody in your office plan a takeover of your Snapchat page. Even if you're going to use those videos on Facebook or something else, it's always great to get a new perspective. People always want behind the scenes info. I've talked about this in a lot of presentations before. Just because you think it's boring, a lot of people won't necessarily. They will find it fascinating. They love the behind the scenes stuff. So let somebody in your office that has a sort of a more obscure job, or even your front office administrator, whoever that may be. Um, Maybe somebody that's in their car all day, a salesperson or a tech support staff or something. Have them take photos of what their day looks like, photos, videos, and don't be afraid to use guest star. Use some of your clients and ask them to come in and do a few videos with you on Snapchat that you can add to your story and have them talk about their business. Do some cross promoting in that way. That's a really helpful thing that you can do too. And don't make yourself crazy. Uh, Start small. Just start and try to do 1 or 2 videos a month and use them on other platforms you already have. Get used to creating the content on Snapchat before you start trying to build an audience or anything like that. I think that you can really use it as a creative center for your content that's not just constant written content all the time. It's not words on a page. It's something creative and different that you can really set yourself apart and not be um, sort of the standard marketing work that you see from a lot of companies. And then lastly, don't be afraid to post your local stories. A lot of local communities have stories on Snapchat. And so when you go to share it to your story, it might also say, I live in Kokomo, Indiana. So it might say, would you also like to share this in the Kokomo, Indiana story? And I think that's always great because it keeps yourself and your company top of mind for others that are looking at the snaps that are happening in your local community. It allows you to connect with potential customers that you might be working with in the future, people that hadn't thought of you, especially for our title folks on here, people that don't know what title insurance is, new real estate agents that are coming into the market that are definitely using Snapchat to connect with them, to talk about what your title company can do and the services you can provide. It can also show your community involvement. It can really show if you're sponsoring baseball teams and chamber events, all kinds of stuff like that. It's a really great way to show that you're involved. It's different than how you might do it on Instagram or Facebook or something else. And it's also where you can test out new ideas. You can ask the local community, hey, we're going to start this video, campaign, and we're going to have local people from the community guest star. Who would you like to see? That would be a great video to post to your local story because you'll get some responses. Or, hey, what neighbor we haven't been? We want to highlight various neighborhoods in our community. Where should we go? What should we? Are there hidden playgrounds that we don't know about? Because then that kind of content is great stuff that your real estate agents can share as well. That's the kind of stuff they love to be able to share with their audience. So really use that local story to test out new ideas and kind of be a megaphone for everything else that you do. I know I'm 5 minutes over, and I apologize. I try so hard to keep these at 30 minutes, but I try to cram good, helpful information right away into this. Please use the chat box if you have any questions right now. I'm happy to answer them. I got a great snap in the middle of this from Joe Powell, so thanks, Joe. I'm glad that this was time well spent for you. If you don't have questions or you don't want to ask it publicly on here, my email's here. It's wayne@bodigital.com. About half of the crowd are current clients for us, and the rest are great friends in the industry. So you've got my information. Please reach out to us if we can be helpful to you in the future. And if you have any other questions or anything, whether it's Snapchat or anything else, I am happy to talk about it. Our next BowBits webinar is going to be the first week of July. I know some of you may be on vacation, but we are still going to record it. And that's going to be an introduction to BombBomb, which is a really great video sharing platform. And we're going to offer discounts to everyone that's on that webinar to try out BombBomb. So be sure to join us in July. And otherwise, I hope you all have a great rest of the week and a wonderful weekend. Thanks so much for attending BowBits and for supporting Bow Digital. Have a great day.